Okay, well, I've got this set up just now to begin this instruction on how to assemble the next generation level 1 components. Now, the level 1 kit that we have includes a AC to DC converter. It includes a digital reverse component, and it includes DC fields for the motor and a printed circuit board lid for the vintage flare smoke. All right, I just took a look, make sure everything's in view, and it appears that it is, so I'm going to continue. We have mailed some kits out and realized I have instructions online, but they may not be as good as they could be, so we're going to try to fix that. And we do that, I will do it, drawing things, okay? That's sort of how it works. Let me see if that's in the picture okay. Barely. Okay, good. Okay, this is our what we call our motor control board, and this has digital reverse. It manages forward, it has a neutral and a reverse and a neutral, so it goes through this sequence just like your vintage reverse did, but this one is a PC board and it's digital, and what you'll see are little blue blocks. One is there and one is there, and these are the connection points for this device. And the thing you have to remember is there is a positive and negative when you come to DC. With AC, it's just a wave and it doesn't matter, but with DC, you got a positive and a negative coming in, and so you need to make sure and keep everybody the same. The convention for positive is red, and the convention for negative is black. So red wires are positive, black wires are negative in general. In this case, we try to stick to it. Some cases, the wiring is just too complicated or too messy, and it doesn't matter, okay? But when we look at this board here, one of the things you need to make sure you realize is the outer connection here is the positive, and the inner connection here is the negative. So when we want to bring in the track power after it's converted, this is where it comes in, and here's where it comes out. And as it comes out here, it's DC, but positive in forward and then negative in reverse, so it changes. So we don't fuss about it too much as we go into the wiring of the engine. It's just you have to maintain that awareness. So now we come to our next piece, which is our power distribution board, and it's very simple. It has a rectifier, and it has some pins in and pins out. One thing we're going to bring in here is the track power from the wheel up to the truck and up to the board, and it'll go like this. Same thing here, truck up to the board. Now, just on convention, you think if this you're facing this way and this is left and this is right, you would put the right wire on the right side of this board. That's just a convention. There's nothing to say that has to be. And these wires are typically black because it's alternating current, and it's just going to be coming in. There's no positive or negative at this point, okay? Now, when we get to the connectors, or what we call the output pins for this thing, in this case, this is the motor control, and there is a red and a black. There is a plus and a minus, so the plus is here, In this case, the plus is here, and in this case, the plus is there. So that these are the three outputs from the power distribution board, negative, negative, negative. Okay, so here's the board. Here's what it looks like in real life, okay? These are rectifiers. What we've done, just for convenience and for a little better reliability, we've put two rectifiers in, and only one rectifier serves the smoke connection, which is out here on the tip, okay? So when you're out here on the tip, that's the smoke connector. The motor connector is on the left, and the soundboard, if you have one, or auxiliary device, is out here on the right. Level 1 doesn't include any auxiliary devices, so we're going to ignore these for now. They're built in. The next thing that we run into, especially when you're doing the smoke, is a volt regulator. Now this volt regulator is called a buck boost board. And it has some very specific connections here and here. It depends on orientation, but in this case, this one is negative, this one is negative, this is the in, and this is the out. So then, this is the positive, and this is the positive, and this is the in, and this is the out. So those are the connections you're going to want to keep in mind and maintain clarity as you begin your assembly. I'll bring this down here so you can see that. Then we come to the engine. I don't want to take this apart because it's together now, so I'll just leave it together. The smoke board is all right here, as you can see, and it looks like this. I'll set this over here so I have room. I can't draw left-handed very well. A lot of board, but there's only 2 pins to connect to. Yep, it's in there, barely, but you can see it. And there's a key to this. Uh-oh. Yeah, I got it. This is the plus, and this is the minus. Okay, that's key, because this is the smoke output, and that plus has to get to that plus. And this minus has to get to this minus. That's key. On the motor control board, the motor output is here. This plus has to get to this plus, and this minus has to get to this minus. That's key. So those connections here and that connection here, there's one next connection. Oh, I interrupted. That would be the smoke actually goes from here through this buck boost board, because we do have a volt regulation that has to come off. So this plus here goes to this plus, then this plus. I apologize. This minus goes to this minus, to the board's minus, to this minus. Okay, that's how that works. Oh, that'll become clear in a few seconds, I hope. Okay. Then we get to the motor. And like I said, there's other stuff to worry about in here, like the angel hair and assembly and some other adjustment things, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Okay. The regulator will come with a mounting fixture. We'll get to that. And the connector is what I recommend, is a red and black that plugs in. The brush conversion to the fields, the factory wire round fields, you take them off, cut them out, and remove them. And this piece is just all assembled. The magnets are in place. It's plastic. You put this dark groove like this under this tab on the engine, and you slide this forward, and then you put the motor back in with the armature and assemble it. And the adjustment, the mechanical adjustment, you do it no matter who you're working with. Ours is just another field. You check the back and forth lash in the armature, and you may put a shim in there to make sure the backlash isn't excessive, okay? When you reassemble, you want to clean the armature plate get nice clean brushes, things like that. Give it a minor tune-up when you put this. If the DC fields are part of your conversion, which in upgrade mode it should be, because it does offer a lot of advantages. And what we've done here, there's no connection to it anymore. The fields that we did have were in this big metal frame, and of course they had wires in them. That's gone. Right now we're using permanent magnets to create the magnetic fields, not electrical energy to create the magnetic fields. So you get this together, you bolt it up, and you check the backlash in the motor armature. That's the key. We'll get to the field, we'll get to the smoke thing here in a second. So this example, we have an adapter that was sent, and it will look like this, and it bolts in with 2 screws. In this case, I'm using a pair of self-tapping number 2s with a Allen head screw. I can put a couple in the wiring harness so that you can use those if you don't have anything. And then red and blue wire, red and black wire out to plug in. Now the length of the wire comes from what kind of engine do you have and what are you assembling. We also have some adapters that we use. A couple different ones. I'll show you a few. And different ways of setting things up for this bare assembly, right? This is what you had, and you had a reverse unit in here, and you had wires going to it. Yeah, I want to make sure that was in view. It is. And these wires went into the reverse mechanical thing, and with track power on and off, that's how you change direction. You're going to change directions exactly the same way, but it's going to be connected a lot differently. The first thing we have to do is get the motor control situated, and it comes with 4 screw holes in each corner. You really only need to use these 2 out here, and you can use the same screw, the number 2 self-tapper that we had here. And there's another one that I have found, and I use it because I used to work in aerospace, so we like Allen head screws. There's a number 2 Allen head that you can use. But in any case, this gets tied down to this bracket and this bracket. What you'll do is you'll feed the through track input, you feed that through here. All right, so this then would sit on here, no interference. This wire would come up and connect to the power distribution board, because this is AC now, right? This only runs on DC, so don't hook this up to this. This is AC. Now we have a bracket, a simple bracket like this. Then we updated that bracket to a little more sophisticated one, and it also fits there and screws in like that. And these holes are for routing the wire. I just cut a piece of wire off. I just threw it somewhere. All right, here we go. We can use these for routing the power from the track, if it makes sense. You come in like this. This board then gets fastened right here. So now you're right where you need to fasten this wire. That keeps it out of the way and contained, and you don't have to fuss about is the wire in the way, stuff like that. So this goes in here. This would fit on here, and what you'll do, that should have been screwed in, right? Okay. You'll put a screw into this adapter through here, and that is what holds it together. This is one of the screws we have. This is a, I think this is a number 3 metric. I just happen to have it here. I think it'll fit. And we can screw that in. And that holds this piece together. It just slips right in. Yeah, okay. Just give me a second. Don't get excited. Nope. Oh, way over here maybe. Yep. There we go. All right, there we go. So you line that up. This is now attached. This board, you just press this down so it doesn't get caught up in anything. You might want to put tape over that. And it will come up like this. Then this piece would come here, and you tap that in with the self-tappers that come in right there. And that's how this assembly goes together. So this is the power distribution board on its adapter and the motor control board on its adapter, and they become sort of like a brick. They become an integrated unit. Part of that includes the wiring for the motor control board, because over here was the motor control wiring, and here it is, red and white, and that goes into this connector here, so that this is going to have to go down like this, and they'll cross over and then come in like that. So the black wire will go in here. And screw that down and give it a tug. You're in good shape. The red wire goes in here. You screw that down. Give it a tug. You're all set. Now you can assemble this like that. You kind of thread it in. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I don't want to make it any more complicated than it really is. That's it. Now you're ready. Okay? You can tighten this one down. You can tighten this one down. And now you can begin to connect the track power. In this case, there's a track power here. It's just a little short, so we have these two. You may want to use a different wire I provide, but you would get a dead strong connection between track here and the track here, okay? Because that's how the power will come in. This side will come in here, this side will come in here. You can do different sides, it doesn't matter, but don't put them on the same. That would be bad, okay? Now that you have that going, you then have turn the track on. You now have DC coming out of here, and your motor controller is working. The motor then is wired into right to the brushes, just like this. Nothing else needs to go in the way, unless you want to have your connector. If you have some kind of a connector, like in the cab of the engine, some of them have a 4-pin connector that works, and or others, or you can just make up your own 4-pin connector if you just want to be able to unplug it from each other. This piece goes inside there. It's a little fat. Squish it down, give it some turns. Goes in. Tighten that baby down. Tug on it. You're in good shape. It's the same thing here. This has been around a little while, so it's a little frayed. Okay. Plug that in. Okay. Right now, if you had a piece of track and rollers for your engine to sit on, you could set this down on a piece of track, connect it to the transformer, put this up on some rollers. You could turn on power and turn on the transformer, and this engine would run. If you have this power hooked up here, track power here, this side hooked to the front, red to red, black to black, and your motor connected here. So there's 5 screws, 6 wires. 5 screws and 6 wires is all you have to get power from a reverse board. And you go neutral, reverse, neutral, forward again with the transformer. That's how it works. This will work. And with this tender, you have single side pickup. 2 wheels here, 2 wheels here, opposite sides. That's how it picks up power. Okay. Then the engine bolt in here. This is like a Pacific, like a 283 or a 290 or something like that. Would bolt in here. Now, when you get to getting your smoke set up, remember this out here, the tip is where the smoke gets hooked up. And you have inputs. That's output. Don't look at it. Don't have input. Red, we showed up here. Red to red, minus to minus. And in this case, the red is on the bottom. In plus is on the bottom. So this pin here, I would go ahead and do this. This might help. It gets a little squirrely. Let me draw this right. Comes in a little bit. Get those screws out of the way. Don't need you yet. Comes in, comes out. Okay. Okay. So there's the rectifiers. Here's the inputs. That's AC. Here's the outputs. We're going to be talking about smoke. This is red, and this is red. Okay. This is black, black, plus minus. Okay, now we get over here and we're going to get to this control board, this volt regulator board. Very simple. Okay, minus is up here, plus is down here. This is red, red. So when you connect, this is the smoke out. However you want to route this, I'm just going to come down because I can go over. I'll come down, it's easy. We take the red wire out of here and we go here. We take the black wire out of here and we go here. Now, if you have a voltmeter, I recommend you have one. You could clamp your voltmeter on positive here, negative here, turn on your track power, and make sure you're getting track power into that board through power distribution board. What you'll be getting is the track output, begins about 5 volts, can go up to 17, and that's AC. When you get track power, that's AC. When it comes out here, it's going to go a little differently. It may be 6 to 18 volts, might be a tad higher, but it's going to be DC. So you got to follow the plus and minus, red to red, black to black. That brings that in. You put up your voltmeter, and what you want the voltmeter to read for you. So you set it on 0 to 100. You want it on 8, or if it's digital, it'll show you. You want 8 volts DC coming out of here. Then turn everything off, and you then bring in, okay, so that's this fellow and these fellows, and he's sitting on the thing, right? I'll just get that out of the way for now. I can bring this back. Now you can take that. If your board's mounted, you would plug it in there. You would take your motor and connect that in there, and that's it. These wires go to that smoke board. Black to black, red to red, 8 volts. That's the key. The smoke lid has factory screws, and I use the same little button head with the self tapper. Sometimes these screws can get worn out. You might have to get a bigger screw. In that case, I'll use the 2x56 hex head screw, but number 2 screws should fit in there and work for you as well. If you have the factory screws, they work fine. They were self-tapping number 2s, but they're a little longer than mine. That'll work as well. That's how you hook up. Okay, so up here we had 5 screws and 6 wires. Now to hook up smoke, you have, well, 4 wires because we're going through the volt regulator. And this I put down with sticky tape. I'll show you that in a second. This you put down with the 6 screws that come with it, and it plugs into that piece there. Plug in or solder, however you want to assemble it. That's it. That's it. Right now, everything's connected. It should run. Should have the factory smoke and chuff. Factory, the smoke will heat up and show smoke and won't overheat, okay? And you get good smoke at low speeds. The motor is using less power than it did before, but it's got permanent magnets that are very strong, so its power is equal to what you had or better, likely better. Reliability in this reverse is very high. This is designed to handle up to 5 amps, and that should be more than you need. And then this is the converter you don't have to fuss with. This guy is intended to sit right here. It clears the startup piece. You may have to thread that like a little bit. You can thread it through whatever suits your fancy to get it up into there. I'll send you enough wire so you can do it. And how I stick this down with the sticky tape